The art of delegation. It surprises me how many managers and owners are micromanagers instead of delegators. I think it's really important that I understand that there's a lot of things that I do and that I do well, but if I try to do them all myself, then many things don't get done or they don't get accomplished the way that they should. And I really limit myself and I really limit my business. So one of the biggest struggles I've had over the last few years is learning how to get more done by using the people around me, the staff that I have. And a term for management is reaching the goals or achieving the goals of the company using the resources of the company. So we have resources all around us. In fact, in most automotive businesses, I have technicians, I have service advisors, I have salespeople, I may have accounting people, I may have marketing people, and yet so many owners try to do so much themselves. So let's talk about delegating, and let me tell you kind of how I do what I do. First of all, I look at my list of things that I need to get done today, and frankly, I don't think there's a day where that list is small enough that I'm going to get everything done. I think there is always things on my list that I'm not going to quite get done today. I think about the people that I have in my company and what their positions are and what their skill levels are. What do they do really well? What are their talents? What should they be doing that I shouldn't be doing? I go through my list of things and I decide that there are certain tasks that I want other people to do. For instance, I'm shooting this video right now, and somebody's going to have to edit it. Somebody's going to have to take out the ums and the ahs and the coughs and make sure that this thing is a good video that we can put online that someone can gain value from. And I certainly don't have time to do that, nor am I really qualified to do that. So right now, Michael is sitting behind the camera watching us, and when I'm all done with this, he will go in to his computer, he'll download the video and he'll do the edits. Used to be, frankly, that I would want to see the end result before it was published. I think that over time, that's changed quite a bit because now I'm very confident that Michael's going to do a good job and that this video is going to go out. And so I don't even really look. Now, occasionally, we get a client. A couple days ago, one of the clients said, "Hey, on your tip number 38, there was an error. There's a sound bite in the middle of it, and it's something that Michael missed," which I guess could be really upsetting. I could go, "Oh my gosh, holy crud! You know, it's the end of the world. We missed something." But frankly, when I decided to have someone else do this for my company and to become a part of my company, I also knew that occasionally we wouldn't get it right, occasionally something would go wrong, and I have to be okay with that. I think that in many shop owners' minds, they're the best person to do the job, they're the best person to make the decision, and I think one of the things that happens is that our staff, based on how we act and what we do, they decide at some point that everything kind of has to go through us, and that we have to make the decision. And I think it's because we decided at some point it was easier for us to do it because it would get done exactly the way we want, and there wouldn't be any mistakes, which, by the way, is that's a falsehood. That's not true. Even when I do it, if I did the editing of the videos, I'm sure I would miss a heck of a lot more than one thing out of 38 videos. So I think you have to look at what the jobs in your business, and what I would really recommend, and I think we've done this in another tip, I don't know which one exactly, but I really recommend that you create an organizational chart and you list the jobs that need to be done. So for instance, I have a technician, and that technician has to produce $42,000 a month for me, which equals 8 hours a day or 9 hours a day or 7.5 hours a day, whatever it is you decide. And it has to be quality work, and I think quality work is not 100% no error. I think quality work is few errors, few mistakes, and I think we make some decision about what that looks like. I think once we've done that and then we hand stuff off, we know exactly what that job is supposed to do and what that person is supposed to do for us. And then we hand things off. At some point, I started this business, 1,000 years ago as a technician. And I was a tech for a while. And back then, when you were writing service, often you were also working on the cars. We don't necessarily recommend that today because we don't think that you have the ability to do your best if you're doing too much. But back then we did that. And so I was a tech and then I became a service advisor. And when I became a service advisor, I was still a tech. And now I have twice the work to do because I'm selling the work and trying to get it done. And then I became a manager. And I think that at some point in the middle there, I decided I wouldn't be a tech anymore. And someone else would have to do the technical work. And then I decided I wasn't going to be a salesperson anymore and someone else was going to have to sell the work. And what I was going to do was make sure that the work got sold and the work got done to a certain standard. And that standard, I think, is less than the standard I would hold myself to. I think if you try to hold everyone around you to the highest standard in the world, you chase people away and you don't get what you want and you're very frustrated, and frankly, they're very frustrated. So let's bring this back in to delegating. By having an org chart and a description of what that position needs to do and what that position needs to accomplish, now I can hand that job off to somebody with a very clear understanding of what it is that I expect, and then I have to manage it. So I think the managing is the second part of delegating. You can't just give somebody something to do and then hand it off and be done with it. I have to make sure that they know how to do their job, and I think this is something that we miss often in the automotive industry. We put somebody in a position and we get them working because they did work for somebody else at some point in time and they're supposed to have experience and therefore they know how to do the job the way I want the job done. And I think that's also a falsehood. I don't think that you know how to do the job the way I want the job done unless I've told you how I want the job done. And that, in a way, is my job description. I think we have to create standards, and I would tell you there's two pieces to that. One is goals, which we've talked about already. And the second is, in my mind, I always think of what's the minimum performance I'm willing to accept, or the maximum amount of mistakes I'm willing to accept in that position before I have to have a conversation with somebody, or frankly, before I have to terminate somebody and replace them with somebody that's going to do the job the way I want the job done. Don't make assumptions that people around you know exactly what you want until you know they know exactly what you want. So if you go back to some of the tips we had on communicating, creating better communication, that's what we're going to do to make sure that the person that we're talking to knows exactly what we want. Is this hard? Yeah, I think it's one of the hardest things as an owner that I've done is hand off clients to other coaches and consultants that work for my company, or hand off tasks. Frankly, sometimes the end result is not what I thought it would be, and sometimes that's actually better, because it's actually better than I would have ever imagined or I would have done, and frankly, sometimes it's worse. And I think I have to accept the good with the bad and be pretty happy about that. I think delegation is a conscious decision. I think delegation has to have follow-up. So if we go back to the 7 steps of management, or the management cycle tip, I think that's the delegation tip. I need to decide what I'm going to hand off and who I'm going to hand it off to. I need to decide what the performance is I'm willing to accept from that person, what the standard is for the quality or the how the job is done. I need to make sure that person is trained and they understand. I need to pay attention to results. And here's, I think, one of the things that we also make mistakes is that we're so focused on that result is not exactly the result that I wanted, that we think that if I did it, it would be less troublesome, and then we become the person that does all the work within our company. I think there are way too many owners that are also the service advisor and the technician, even though they have service advisors and technicians, because they're in there in the way and they're actually holding their staff back. I think I need to have follow-up, and I think follow-up is one of the most important parts of this, and that is when I've asked you to do something for me, I need to follow up with you and make sure that job is done and it's done to the standard that I want. And I think in the beginning, that takes more energy and more effort, maybe even than doing it myself. But if we're patient and we work with the people and we let them do their job, most of them will do the job at least to the minimum standard. And I would tell you most of them will do the job even better than I ever imagined. And therefore now I don't have to do the job. And frankly, I don't know if this is something that comes along as you get older or as you get more tired or as you become a better manager. I don't want to do the job. I can't do the job. I can't do all the jobs. So part of this is about letting your business be run by other people because you have a direction and because you've decided and you know exactly what it is you want and you're very clear with your staff. And part of this is not allowing them to get in the way of this. So people do things because they want to manipulate you. Now, manipulation is probably a very strong word. It's probably the wrong word. But people subconsciously and consciously do things so that they can modify your behavior so that you fit in their world, you do what they want you to do, or at the very least, you do things that make them more comfortable. I don't know that that's a good idea, but it's how the world works. Don't allow your staff to manipulate you because you're the guy that has to do the job because you feel if you don't do the job, then the job doesn't get done. Work with your staff, assign jobs, make sure that there's a clear understanding of what you expect, manage it, strategize with your staff. My point here is that if I was the guy that was not only filming the video, but editing the video, then I wouldn't have time to film the video. And we wouldn't have the kind of quality that we have, nor would we have the amount of things that we have that would help shop owners and other people in our industry. And also, we wouldn't have the kind of marketing that would draw in the attention that we need. As I said in the beginning, you're going to be a little more nervous about what the product is. You're going to pay attention. And as time goes over and you get more confident in your staff, then you're going to be able to let it loose. Now, it doesn't mean that I let it loose completely, because I think part of delegation is quality control in the sense of, is the job being done? Is the job being done the way I want? Is the job being done in a timely fashion? Is it exactly what we want it to be in the company? And more importantly, I think, does it serve the purpose? Does it achieve the result that I want it to achieve? And if I can get that and get someone else the result without doing the work myself, then it expands my ability, it expands my company, and it doesn't limit us. I don't know that this is as helpful as I want it to be for you, but delegation, I think you have to stop thinking I have to do everything. And I would tell you one of the secrets that I think is when someone comes to you and asks you to do something or asks you to look at something or asks you to think about something, I think the first thing you need to do in your head is think, is this what I should be doing? Should I answer this question? Should I tell them the secret? Should I tell them how to do this job? I think if you do that, and about 60% of the time, maybe 70% of the time, you come to the conclusion that this is not what I should be doing, they should figure out the answer themselves, that's going to help you a ton in delegating. And then last, I'm just going to try to bring this around and make sense out of the whole thing for you. I've decided what needs to be accomplished within my company. I've set goals for my company. I have certain people within my company that do certain jobs within my company. And even though it's not done exactly the way that I want it to be done or the way that I would do it necessarily, if it gets the right result, then I want to let these people do their job, and I want to let them, I want them to do what they're supposed to do, because that frees me up to do the things for my company that create a bigger future and create more profits and more satisfaction for me. Delegation is about being conscious about what needs to be done. Delegation is about telling people, I need you to do this for me, and asking people, will you do this for me? And then making sure that people actually did it and that the job got accomplished. I think that's enough for now. In fact, it's probably too much. I thank you for your time, and I appreciate you watching our tips.
We hope you enjoyed this week's tip. For more information on the concepts we discussed, check out our upcoming classes at www.ifrabe.com/classes, or listen to the Leading Edge podcast at institutesleadingedge.podbean.com, where we discuss business topics just like this one with a panel of industry experts. You can also contact us whenever it's convenient, and we'll set up a free consultation on how the Institute can help you better your business, your life, and the industry as a whole. We'll see you guys next week.